Did you click it?
Yes. Hi, everybody. It's Nancy Reyes with For Your K9.
And Joanne Soike with For Better For Worse.
Let us know that you're out there. Today, we're going to be talking about how dogs use space. Again, big topic, but we will try to cover it as best we can with what we've got. So let us know you're there. Hi, Susan. And I heard you guys had a great training today, so we'll chat about that. And hi, Tracy, Melanie, how are you? All right. So one of the things that we sometimes don't think about, hey, Barb, we sometimes don't think about is how dogs perceive space. We see it one way and dogs see it another. And I think sometimes it doesn't quite jive. And I mean physical space, physical, how dogs use it and interact in it. And there's a lot to it. So it's very much like people who are huggers or very close, like close physical contact versus people who don't. Dogs tend to have those very similar characteristics. So, and I think, and also that doesn't mean just because they don't like close contact with people, areas or environment is also a situation as well. So we're going to try to kind of touch base on all of those a little bit. I'm sorry we don't have a lot of video for some of that, but I think you will be able to have a pretty lively discussion about it. Joanne, do you want to add anything? We both had events today, so.
I have dogs that are not tired, so I'm going to be going on and off mute so you don't hear the wrestling in the background. No, we were actually watching some of these videos to prepare for this earlier, and it's just so funny how just because your dog is one way does not mean the next dog is the same way. They all have their own personal preferences, just like Nancy said. So she's very much a hugger, and I'm not quite that much. I don't mind it, but I can see how people do, right? They're like, "Ooh, don't hug me," right? So where Nancy comes in with open arms when you walk through the door. So it's just interesting how it's different between, same as people, different between dogs. So
yeah,
hopefully you'll see that tonight.
Yeah, and so we will. Hi, Ronnie. Hi, Sarah. So that's what I wanted to kind of address and kind of chat a little bit more about. So we'll talk a little bit about dog to dog and we're going to look at a little bit of play, but we're going to also look at how dogs approach each other a little bit to play. Again, it's not always the same way, and some dogs are more. And it really comes down to reading dogs a little bit better, right? How we read the dogs, and so and this is really important if you have a dog that's reactive, right? What you think, there's plenty of room in a big facility space. There's plenty of room, and for the dogs, it's not. I had a COVID is perfect for you, Joanne. No hugs. In my old space at Schiller Park, I had a Doberman that came for a reactive dog for a private lesson, and she was in a reactive dog class. And that space was I think like 80 by maybe 50, something like that, maybe a little more, but around there. She couldn't see another dog. We had to go all the way to the end, and she was still not comfortable being around another dog 80 feet away. That was really, really challenging for that particular dog. But we worked on it, and that dog finally was able to be around other dogs in a very close proximity. She eventually actually got to live with a bunch of other dogs, but that was a very interesting 80 feet away, and that's how close. That's the only. She couldn't even handle that. It had to be outside to be able for the dog to be comfortable. Because usually when we have a dog that has anxiety issues or reactivity issues, we always try to find the spot where the dog is comfortable so that we can start working. And so usually the first part is to find that spot for the dog. And for this dog, it was over 80 feet away plus. So it was a very different. Where most of the dogs, it's 40, 50 feet, but for this dog, it was it was huge, the distance that was comfortable for that dog. Because that's the first thing you want to do, right? Is find that comfortable spot. Anyway, so that's kind of just some of the thought process behind it. So we're going to show you. And the other thing is, depending on the dogs, right? Like certain breeds that are bred to do certain things, it really depends on how they use space. Like, for example, and we'll show you a quick video of a herding video. And those dogs, that's why border collies usually don't play rough and tumble, and they don't usually play with, wrestling and all that. They don't like that. They like the game of being chased, chasing. They like that as part of their routine, right? Or the way they handle stuff. Versus labs and goldens are very much like me, close talkers, spleen sharing. You couldn't get close enough to dogs and other people. Not all, but most, right? That's true of their personality types. And shepherds are that way with people they love or they know, except for my shepherds. They're like that with one of them's like that with everybody. But, normally it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. And I hope everybody takes that away. There's a difference between known and trusted and just being out in the world, right? Same as people, we're gonna feel much more comfortable around people who are our friends and people who we feel comfortable around. But I almost think dogs are even a little more like that, even though they have the tendencies to be closer or farther away. I think with unknowns or dogs they're not as familiar with, they tend to definitely increase that space, even if they are close talkers.
Yes. The close talkers are not the fan favorite for some of the but I have a lab and a shepherd, and they're both close talkers. So there you go. Okay, so we'll show you a really quick video of a dog herding, and what that looks like and why that's. Let's see here. Oh, it's
so while she's bringing it up, if you've never seen it before, I always love watching dogs do what they were bred to do, and just see what kind of natural talent that they have. And so when you watch a dog on sheep, they just have this instinct to know when to close space, when to leave space, when to move quickly, when to slow down. It's very interesting to watch how they use space, and they use kind of that eye and the head and really kind of getting those hard stares in to tell a sheep you need to move right now. So
yeah. All right, I'm coming. Sorry. So that's Joanne's border collie. And you see how she uses space, right? Really, really interestingly, right? She knows when to get close. She knows when to go around. She knows when to push. She knows when to speed up or slow down or change direction. A lot of times very naturally, right? Except too bad I don't have Divots video. That was awesome. She's a naughtier border collie than this one.
No gripping sheep.
Yeah, no.
The sheep owners don't like that.
She doesn't grip the sheep, but she sure. So anyway, so this is just something to keep in mind when you're looking at how dogs use space, right? It matters a lot. So, for example, having a lab or a golden play with the border collie, it's hard because they don't usually care for that. Some of the sporting dogs do enjoy chasing and all that, which is great for them. But some really, the border collies mostly don't really care, don't really care. Is shepherding to a goal? Yeah, they usually have to run the sheep through the. Oh my goodness, through
through some gates and pens.
Through some
It's
gates and
basically to get them to go through a chute. But right here, this was very, very novice stuff. They're just trying to just get her to kind of show her natural ability and just try and move the sheep, right? She's really not getting a lot of direction here. This is really mostly all natural. The only real thing the handler's doing out there is just kind of making sure she doesn't, go after them or slam the sheep into the fence, because some dogs will do that. They run them so fast. But yeah, it's this is mostly totally natural from her. She's like you can see the handler out there is really not giving her much direction at all. She's just trying to stay in the middle and circle her around the edges.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, you watch this, and I have I have two very close talkers. They play in different ways, and she is much more of a give me a toy and I will fetch a toy while everyone else plays. She's not really into the whole,
Right.
bouncing around and wrestling. She doesn't like it.
Right. And she doesn't particularly care for that style versus this style of play is a little more, it's different, right? But if you really notice, there's physical contact, but not so hard and not so harsh either, right? It's pretty polite in many ways.
Yes.
Right?
And it works because both dogs are reciprocating that exact style of play, right? These are the dogs that get into trouble when you put them into a dog that does not have that play style, the non-German play style, as I like to call it, right? Which is not the jumping and the hitting and the neck grabbing and all of that. So you put a dog who likes to play like that with a dog who does not like to play like that, and you can get some trouble pretty darn quick.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Absolutely.
I always like to equate that to if you're ever in line at the post office or the grocery store, right? Especially, I think we've all become hyper aware of it during, this last year of COVID. You ever been somewhere where you're like, you stay on that 6-foot dot and they just kind of creep up, right? As you're putting your card in the machine, and they seem to be right here, and you're like, get away from me. So we are very, spatial when we recognize it, but when people get too close, boy, you notice real quick.
Right. And one of the things that we really want to be able to do is really recognize when our dogs are, I don't know, comfortable, or when they're not, or when it's not, or it could, and I hate to say go bad, but it was where it's not being really reciprocated. So there's a little bit of, so I'm going to let you guys, what do you notice about these two, this scenario with these two dogs? Anybody? So what are some of the things you notice about this particular little soiree they're having here?
Sarah says Lavisha's not into it. Not sure.
What else? No, he's kind of a mama's boy. I'm just saying. But go on.
Poor buddy. Don't listen to Auntie Nancy.
So why do you think? So then here's the question. So if that's the case, if that's true, right? Why isn't the Vizsla sure about the Cocker's a pest? She's a sweetie, but yeah, maybe. So what are some of the Cocker wants to play? So what are some of the reasons why you think that too close? Yep, a little bit of assertion. Sadie's pushy. Yeah. So yeah, and you guys are, so here's the thing, you guys. Dog seems to be guarding. Well, Noah's not really a guarder, Mary. Trust me on that.
And honestly, that's not even me. That's the Cocker's mom. So so we talked about close talkers, right? That's just
So watch it. So if you watch it again. So yeah, to a certain extent, Miss Sadie, the cocker, is kind of, trying to assert her position, right? In the which makes the Vizsla, Mr. Sissy Pants, a little nervous, right? Stillness of the Vizsla exhibit. Yeah, he is uncertain. He's not sure, like, should I play? Should I not? Because and Joanne can correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know if Sadie's mom is watching tonight, but one of the things with dogs like Sadie, she goes, okay, we're going to play like this, and this is how we're going to play. And then later it's like, okay, that was too much. So it makes, it leaves the dog that they're playing with like, okay, is this okay? Or is that, so it's not as a relaxing interchange. So yeah. Is that accurate, Joanne?
kind of, yeah. Now I will also tell you, these guys are the best of friends now, right? He was he was very adolescent then, but if you watch the last couple of seconds of the video, the thing that gets me the most is what happens. He jumps away, and then what? It's like, okay, I want to try again. Right? So he's looking for assurance from the human, but at the same time, if he was super uncomfortable, this particular dog, right? He wouldn't have come back. He would have stayed on the other bed. So doesn't mean it's a fantastic scenario, but because he made the choice to come back, wasn't super worried about it.
Yeah. And he does have a way, to get away from there. Like, he could leave anytime he wants to. And that's the other thing you want to be real clear about. In a place where there's space or lack thereof, the dog should have the ability to move away or leave the scenario if they can. Some dogs don't know they can, but if they have it, that's why I like to do off-leash dog-to-dog stuff so much, because of that. Because the dogs then can leave if they need to. If they feel uncomfortable, if they don't want to be there, they can leave. It's no different than if we go to a party and we're not happy, but we went with somebody and we have to stay there because we said we would be there, and it's very uncomfortable and you're stuck there. That's a lot less fun than it's like, well, this is not going what I like, so I think I'll just go and I'll go home now, or I'll go to the other side of that room, or whatever it is, right? So always giving the dog the option to leave or move away from whatever is maybe a little concerning, and then giving them the freedom to come back is really what is the ideal scenario, right? And he would have left sooner. That's correct, Julie. Yeah. If he was really that uncomfortable, he would have left a little bit sooner.
Yeah. And when we talk space, if you watch the first couple of seconds of the video, he's actually kind of into it until she closes that space, right? Till she closes the space and kind of gets over him and gets real close, sniffing his ears, putting her head over him. And that's when he kind of draws back, gets a little uncertain about things.
So here we have two dogs, a young Dobie, and is this an older shepherd or a puppy as well?
She was an adolescent. I think she was 9 to 10 months there. All of the agility folks out there, don't worry, these were not agility dogs.
What's one thing you notice about these two guys? They're young adolescent dogs. So there's not a lot of aggression there or anything like that. But what do you notice? So what are some of the things you notice about this clip that's different, interesting, or that you find that you would be like, that's weird, or that gives you, Now here, these dogs have lots and lots of space to move around, to get away. Yeah, Space Dobie is like, probably.
As so many dogs are when they start to interact with a new shepherd. Just kidding.
Hey. Yeah. Yep. The German Shepherd is really trying to get the puppy to play, but very little physical. That's right, Mary. That's the biggest, like, that stands out. They don't get very close, and there's absolutely no physical contact. So, yeah, that's right. The Dobie is not sure. This is great, because this is where you see that you really like putting that doe in a smaller space with not this particular dog, because I think with any dog would be very, very challenging for him, right? It was a him. It would be challenging for him in a smaller space. So you see where this is where space matters a lot. It's huge. No chasing like the GC is trained to entice. Yeah. And the Doberman's not sure, right? It's very unsure about the play and what's going on. And it's just, so it's difficult for so that's why you want to think about these things whenever you're introducing two dogs to be together or have some space. You definitely want, or interact, you really want a lot of space so that the dogs can have the choice to move away or go somewhere else, right? Sheppy wants to chase, and Toby's like, "What?" Yeah, kind of. That's kind of. So yeah, that's what. So those are things like you would never then, knowing this about this particular dog. I mean, you'd have to eventually he'd get there, but it would take some time, right? Right. The Doberman. I mean, the Shepherd is being actually pretty polite here. Pretty polite about play and all that stuff. So.
Yep. So this one, if you really watch, the Doberman here, imagine if this is a shelter dog and you want to see how that dog is going to do with your dog. So you brought your dog along just to see how they would interact, right? And what do you normally have at a shelter? A tiny yard, a tiny little pen. It's probably not going to be great. They're going to say, "Oh, that Doberman's really scared and skittish," right? Not really. He just needed a little more time and space to feel comfortable.
Yeah. And I think we have more video of this little man too. Hold on. Yeah, he was very, let's see. Let's see. So here's another video of the same interaction. So, okay. Here's another video of similar interaction. I have to download them to view them, Joanne. That's why it's kind of a.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Are you telling me to vamp? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. So this is the same dogs. So this is probably, so the Shepherd really is trying to get the Doberman to run, and it's just not happening. He goes, I don't know if I don't want to do that. Right? They're not sure. But here on this video, you have a little more. The Shepherd almost gets their way, right? So let me add another video.
Just give it time. The shepherd gets her way.
Is this the same video? Yeah.
This was the first one with her over the top.
Sorry. No. No, go lay down. I know, I love you too, but you got to stop that.
You guys have to forgive us. We were both gone all day, so our dogs are like, we're bored.
And then, and Tango's, very emotional, so, because he's, all right. Here's the one with the leash.
The high energy seems to turn the dobe cautious. Yeah, a little bit. The motion. I think it's when she starts to take off, he's like, "Oh, not so sure about that. If you sit still, I'm happy to come closer. As soon as you start getting all active, I need some space."
All right. So then we have another. She keeps going. So don't worry. The leash we'd never do that with the leash, but in this case, it was just a. So they were on one side of the facility. Now they're on another. But now you got the Doberman a little bit more engaged.
But you see, this is really interesting. You see how the shepherd sort of reads actually his, being a little uncomfortable, and she stops at a distance.
Yeah. The shepherd was very, very, really good read on that. So then, so here's where I think we have success in the whole thing. And you have success. The shepherd gets her way. Yeah, you're right. The Dobie likes to chase, but doesn't like to be chased. That's typical Doberman, don't you know?
Yeah, for sure. And this is really great. So you watch how she gets closer, but she averts her gaze, right? To take some of the pressure off of closing the space on him.
Yeah. So one of the things you really want to notice about these dogs, how they naturally avert their gaze, look away. All that is part of play and interaction, right? That is all part of it. It's not just an accident how they handle that. And how they stop and sniffing and all that is all part of how they use space.
Yep. So you see most of that closing space, she was not looking at him. She was averting her gaze somewhere else. And even here, he comes, she looks away.
Right.
So go ahead.
Those are all really important things to note when dogs are playing or they're interacting. How much they look at each other. Especially if you think about it, you have two guardian breeds there and most of the time, those of us that have shepherds, most of the time, those of us that have shepherds is like stop staring because the Dobermans tend to do a lot of that same thing as well. Is the staring and all that stuff. Where shepherds naturally tend to want to look and stare and stalk and do all that stuff. So luckily, these guys kind of figured it out. So that was good. It was really good. So then we have, let's see.
It's
No.
so interesting. That dog, that shepherd, is such a good natured shepherd. People pay a lot of money for that temperament. She was found in a ditch at like 10 weeks old. And one of
Wow.
the ladies who works at the shelter was like, I'm not putting her in the shelter. I said, I absolutely would not, because she was a shepherd lady. So took her home, and she's still a wonderful dog to this day.
Hold on one second. Let me just. These are Patty videos that she sent to me today, and I haven't been able to figure out how to.
Yeah, and Debbie, you're absolutely right. Of the herding breeds, right? The border collies, man, they use those eyes to hold a sheep in a corner or to move a sheep. They just have such a intense gaze when they really want to use it. So yeah, if they're using that for not good, it can be a bad stare.
Yeah, if they're using it for good, for evil and not good,
Yes.
yeah, it can be a thing.
Absolutely.
All right, hold on. All right, can you see this video, Joanne?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, this one doesn't share as easily as the other one, so I apologize in advance. Joanne can monitor the questions because I can't see it.
I got you.
So what do you think I love the way Zia's like, oh God. So what do you notice about these two kids that you see, and they're not kids, or good, bad? What do you notice?
German takedown.
Yeah.
A nice give and take. Yep.
Yeah.
They must know each other. Yeah, they live together.
They do. They live together. Mm-hmm. That was a very, very polite shepherd. Yes, she is actually. Yes, it's a lot of give and take, and that's what usually that's what you want to see in play. Even though you see a lot of teeth, you see a lot of that stuff, you still are. It's very reciprocal, yes. And even though you see a lot of teeth and all that, it's still fun and it's good and interchange. And yeah, they do know each other very well. Right, exactly. And putting themselves in very vulnerable. Oh my God, dude.
I can't
Very
believe it took
vulnerable.
him 30 minutes. I'm just saying. I can't believe it took him 30 minutes to make an appearance. So, buddy, say hi to Fido.
God, he's such a jerk.
Yeah, is Exo younger than Zia? He is, right?
Oh yeah, Exo's very much a puppy. Exo's very much a puppy, and Zia's like, I don't know. Patty, how old is Zia? She's I want to say she's 7, 5, 7, 5, or between 5 and 7. She's young too, but not as young as the puppy. The puppy just turned a year. He's like 18 months or something like that. So yes. Yes, she's 8. Yeah, and the little man is like 18 months. So yeah, it's quite an age difference, but she likes training the young ones. What can I tell you? Right?
1.5, 18 months. Yep. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's 18 months old. Can you see the video?
No.
Oh. Let's see. How about now?
Yeah, but you can see the background, but that's fine.
Okay, hold on. Let me just.
Can read all your text messages while we're watching.
All right, there we go. Hold on. I'm trying. I can't make it bigger. It doesn't like it. So, yeah. So hopefully you guys can see it. We'll do this again. Same. And how really what you want? I want you to see is how they use their space, right?
We're not seeing it, Nance.
No, God bless it. Yeah, it doesn't like it when I do it that way. Mm-hmm.
I can still see your text message screen with the end. Yeah, there you. It's.
I don't want that. Oh shit. Let's take that off. Let's see. Let me see if there's another way I can do it. Joanne, go ahead and
Vamp.
Yeah, let me see if there's another way I can see that video because it's because it was on a cell phone. It was hard, and Patty was kind enough to get it to me.
Yeah. So I think one of the things for me, it's really hard when they're your dogs, right? Especially when you get a new dog, and even more when they're both adolescent, right? Or they're coming into adolescence. So like Patty Shepherd's really nice. You have an 8-year-old and an 18-month-old. So you have a really nice teacher. And then, a lot of times the older dog, when things get out of hand or they're starting to escalate, and even if that doesn't mean aggression, right? They're just starting to get, a little more than what they should. The older dog can sometimes walk away, or if you guys were here last week, yeah. If you guys were here last week, Noah's 4 years old and he was trying to kind of tame that puppy. He kind of laid on him and he was a little pushy with the puppy, but that puppy is something else, let me tell you. But when it really comes down to it, the adult will just end the interaction. When you have adolescents, same as kids, right? They don't have that walk away capability as well as a well-seasoned adult does. So that's something you really, really want to watch out for when you're talking about space and interaction. It's like elementary school kids, right? What are you looking at? What are you looking at? You want to go? Yeah, let's go. Right? Nobody has the wherewithal to say you're stupid. Like, I'm just gonna walk away and go. They both want to kind of take it out to the end, and sometimes you have to separate, and that's totally okay, right? Sometimes the human does need to step in, say that's enough, everybody just go have a nice little break. What's an appropriate correction for older dog to younger dog? It depends, Debbie. It depends on the dog, right? So like this little puppy I have now, oh my goodness, he needs something pretty strong to get him to understand. Where if we looked at that little Dobie puppy, right, he would need something really minimal. I mean, he's not sure about other dogs, right? So something just a little as a little growl, or sometimes just a little paw, or something, whatever, would be enough for that dog. So you can sort of see the persistence that they're born with, which they are. Every dog has a different persistence level, matters a lot too, right? If you have a dog that says, I want to play right now, the adult says, no, I'm done with you. Yeah, but I want to. And that's another time when you can get into some not so fancy interactions, when one is like, I said we're done. So it really depends. You can have anything from, a little hard stare, a little lift, lip lift, a growl. Somebody can just kind of put a paw on the puppy. They can just get up and stop the interaction. When we think about mom and puppies, right? When she's done, that's usually what she does. She just gets up and leaves. She's like, I'm done with you. So they do learn that from really early on. She does it when she's done nursing. She does it when she's done playing with them. She'll just get up and leave the whelping box.
Right. All right. Let me try this again, ladies. This is not cooperating tonight with the video. Can you see the video now?
Yes, now it's great.
Okay, perfect. So these are the other two dogs, but look at how. So what's the one thing you notice with in both videos? I'm going to play this one again because she does it. The female, the shepherd, does it in both videos, which is really, it's just really good, and it alludes to what Joanne was talking about a little while ago. So,
if dogs could eye roll.
yeah. So what was it that you know? Yeah, that's right. She. Yeah, yeah, Lori, and we'll talk about that too. So yeah, one of the things that Zia does, it did it twice. She leaves. She goes, okay, we're done, and that's where Joanne was alluded to earlier. With an older dog, they know when to stop. They know how to set limits that way. With two young dogs, that's why sometimes, and it's hard because you don't always want to interrupt their play because then you're kind of a big buzzkill. But there are times that you have to step in and say, okay, you need to stop playing and we need to rest a minute and then go back. I found that I had to do that with my two young dogs because I have 2 3-year-olds now. And when they start to play, sometimes I have to interrupt it because they're just ridiculous and they don't know when to stop. Well, and for that matter, neither does a 12-year-old, but I digress. She'll play until she needs a perfume in the morning, but normally they stop playing. The older dog, like Zia, she just left both times. She goes, okay, we're done, I'm gonna take a break, and I'm sure she goes back and plays, but she stopped. She's putting those self-imposed breaks in that interaction, which is really cool. So, and yeah, she just walks away. She goes, okay, we're done. And he's like, okay. And then he walks behind her, but then they go on, right? So it's
yeah. So I mean, if you watch that video, if I was that owner and I watched the video, right, and let's just say he's feeling it that day, when she, at the very end of that video, when you saw her kind of jump up on the deck and walk away, if he came to do some more neck grabs, that is exactly the moment I would walk in and say, nope, you're done, you need a break, right? Because if he's not taking the dog cues, that's when the human needs to step in.
Yeah. And and Patty, and Patty does step in and stops the interaction. And that's exactly right. That would be a good example of if one of the dogs is trying to leave the interaction, then that's when you. Now, if they leave to go back around or to find another way in, that's one thing. But you definitely want the when one dog is trying to leave the interaction, it's like trying to like when you have to go to the bathroom and somebody keeps talking, it's like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Social cues.
Yeah. So yeah, you definitely want to support the dog that is leaving and stopping the interaction. They can always go back and play again, but you want them to have that that ability to, again, and this is where space, and I think Debbie mentioned it before about backyard greetings. If you have a decent sized yard like Patty does with her 2 dogs, it's not a problem, right? There's plenty of room for them to get away. But if you want a relatively large space and also in a place where the dogs can go if they need to get away from each other, right? Yeah, he takes no Duncan. So yeah, and Deb, so that's what I mean. You can do it in the yard, but you just make sure the yard is large enough to be able to give the dogs the space they need to leave and not be, that's where space is a big, big deal. It's huge. And a lot of people think, oh, it should be fine. And really quickly, I know Alicia, Sue, and Patty are on. They did a walk today with their 3 shepherds to kind of get them comfortable with each other. So could you guys share kind of how that went a little bit? Alicia did send me a report on it, and she did really, she did, I'll tell you what she told me. She said that they went on a park. This is, remember, if those of you who tuned in last week, the 2 shepherds that were meeting, they did go to the for a walk. They did great with Zia. Again, they're just doing parallel walking is all they're doing. And he was very friendly with Zia, which is the shepherd you just saw. And then with Penny, he was a little worried, probably because she was talking. And then over time got more relaxed. And then they were able to go on a nice parallel walks together. And this is where you want to see that social interaction and those social cues about when they're comfortable and when they're not comfortable. Zia and Nazar did great. Nazar and Zia was comfy with each other. And how about, how long did it take him to get comfy with Penny? So that would be a question I would ask. I should have asked you guys to videotape. It would have been a good video for tonight, but I didn't think of it. I had we had bunch of other stuff going on. So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, while Alicia's typing, Sue had asked a question a little bit ago. She's got 3 dogs. They bite and grab at paws and legs. Is this normal play? They don't seem to mind it. So, I mean, one thing I would ask you is, Sue, do you have herding breeds? Because that's really typical of herding breeds, is to go for the paws, biting at the paws, the legs. But I mean, when you say they don't seem to mind it, does one walk away and come back? Like, that's the big key here is, right? If we have dogs that are playing and, yeah, of course they're going to pull a paw or pull a leg away if somebody's, biting at it. But do they try and walk off to the other side of the room and the other dog follows them? Or are they like, they walk off and come back to that interaction again? So
right. And you guys, what I want you to take away from, the dog should have the space to leave, come back, or just completely leave the interaction altogether. If that's even in your own home, right? If you have dogs that are, like that are worried about space, like I have a small little Min Pin Chihuahua. She'll play for a while and then she's done. They roll, they wrestle, bite each other. Yeah. So Zia was a good buffer. Was actually quiet. Really? Oh my God, that's amazing. And Nazar was pulling at the beginning, but then they're fine. So but see, big open space is a big hint, right? It's a big, it's really important for the dogs to get that piece, right? They did settle walking. Okay. And yes, Penny was quiet. I am uber impressed about that.
But I think too, it probably helps the 3 of them, right? Knowing, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Oh, okay. We're just doing the walk. There's no pressure to actually interact like we did last time. Because most dogs know what a walk is. I mean, even if you go for walks, you walk in class, you walk to and from places. They know when you put a leash on and ask them to walk next to you. I mean, they're familiar with that exercise. So I think sometimes that's where that, like we talked about last week, that parallel walking can be a really, really great way to just kind of get them to chill out and not force an interaction, right? They can be close. They can be near each other, but there's no pressure to say hello. There's no pressure to even look at the other dog if they don't want to.
Right. And that's really important that we don't put that pressure on the dogs, right? That they have to play or they have to do anything that they don't want to, right? Because especially if they're not sure about it, so I have a really quick video. Hold on one second. That I'm going to show. These are my 2 older dogs. And I'm going to, I think it's the cutest thing in the universe myself, because they are just, Do you see that, Joanne?
Yep, I see the big banana.
Yeah. All right. Can you see it? It doesn't look great.
Your pause button's in the middle, so if you, yeah,
Okay.
there you go. Yep.
Is it still there? Yeah.
Now, the best part about this is, how old is Indy?
Indy is 17, the one with the little sweater.
17 years old. Can you play it again? So, right, even at 17, she looks like she's getting a little sassy with him, but he turns around, he shakes, he's coming back at her. He says, "Give me a minute. Okay, now I'll take some more, right? Please, ma'am, may I have another?"
Yeah. And I just find it so adorable that they do have, they do enjoy, they still enjoy playtime at that age. Yeah. So, but yeah, that was a very, it's a senior playtime, but it's because Indy is 17 and um, Rizzo is 10. So, and they play like that every so often in the morning. It's not very long, but they do interact. But you see how they use space and how they interact with each other. Given that Indy has, he's still pretty mobile and spunky, but he's still 17 and he doesn't move around like he used to, right? So those are things to consider. Yeah, they're really, yeah. Yeah, well, Kim, I suspect she's going to be that spunky at 17. I suspect that he will be, actually, Indy will be 17 on Friday, the 26th of March. He will be 17 years old. And he's still, no, Chacha, no. And he's still, pretty, yeah, he still likes to play, and he's still, nice. Let's see if Daisy would play. No, Daisy's like, Daisy's more like, get off my lawn and stop playing around.
Stop all that racket up there.
Yeah. Use your info from last week. Introduce Madison and Rosie to my son's new puppy, but not initially. The puppy had an ex. My girl indicate. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good, Debbie. It's like, yeah, you want to take your time with that interaction and that playtime, because don't rush it, because that usually can become a real nightmare. It's just better to take your time with introductions and letting them use the space they need to become more comfortable, like we're doing with Zia and Nazar and all that, where they're getting used to each other. Because I think long term it'll be a great thing. They'll be great friends and it'll be wonderful, instead of trying to rush it. Because that's where we make the mistakes, right? We make a lot of mistakes trying to hurry up and get him to do, to get along. But it's like only they can make that decision, right?
Yeah, and I will tell you from 15 years taking in foster dogs and doing rescue, you cannot go too slow, but if you go too fast, you can never take that back, right?
Right.
So once they have that snippy, even if it's just a snippy, snarky, rah, 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 depending on the dog and how much they hold a grudge, or how insecure they are, if that is the first interaction they have in the first 2 weeks, sometimes that can scar that interaction for forever, right? I don't like that dog, right? And if you think about it, have you ever met someone, right or wrong, okay, have you ever met someone, you had a 2-3 minute interaction, you're like, I don't really like them, right? For whatever reason, they just rubbed you the wrong way. You just didn't, something about them, and you don't really even know what it is. You're just like, I don't really care for them. Dogs do the same thing, right? So if you have a real snippy, snarky, or worse, right, somebody gets into a scuffle, you just can't take that fight back, that yelling match back. So you can't go too slow.
Right, but you can't go too fast. And that's what I mean, and a lot of one of the great places to start is parallel walking with each other. Just go on a walk and just hang out and put them behind a gate where they can get used to each other, all those things. But make sure the biggest thing, because most of the dog fights or some of the problems in the interactions come in doorways. If you ever think about, if those of you who've ever had a dog fight or a situation, a lot of the times it's been in a tight space, coming in through the door or a narrow hallway. Those are usually the places where you can have some pretty just difficult, some nasty interactions there. So she never liked Nipper. Nipper was darling. So was he. But it's one of those things that you really want to think about that. Like, space matters to dogs. It really does. So while you think there's plenty of room to get past in the doorway, no, there isn't. Not sometimes. So you want to really be mindful of narrow spaces, tight spaces, and doorways when you're having multiple dogs. It's always better to go one, and it just to err on the side of caution for that. So Rosie has to learn how to walk on a leash first. Yeah, no kidding, right? All right, guys. I hope you got a lot out of our space, dog space, because I think it's something we don't think about. We forget about it, and we don't apply it into our dog-to-dog interactions. And it matters a lot. And there can be some pretty a fence between them is worse, than distance on leash. Ronnie, you're right. Sometimes it is worse because then they get that territorial barrier thing. Yeah, agreed. So just really be mindful about space and where they are and how the dogs really are affected by that. Yes, ours was in the backyard right by a gate. Yep, Kim, I'm telling you, I've had a few fights in my day, and every single solitary fight has been near a doorway or in a tight space. Every single one. Not with these dogs, but with previous dogs. Every single one has been either coming in and out. And that's why coming in and out of your houses, or when you have one dog out and coming in with another dog, it's really important to monitor that or manage that in that going in and coming out really, really well, because that's where, if you're going to have an issue, that's where it's going to be. So, all right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, you guys, for tuning in. And if you have videos, again, thank you, Patty, for sharing that video. We really appreciate it. And so if you have anything that you'd like to share and all that, so we can talk about it, please send it to us, because we're happy to use it. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night,
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.